Greetings, free thinkers. Welcome to the Hoggcast. How are you doing today? I hope you're doing fine. I certainly am. Okay, what do we have for you on today's episode? We have for you the infamous Battle of Chuck E. Cheese. This is an example of numerous things. First and foremost, bad parenting and bad example setting. It is this type of thing that leads to people who grow up in urban, densely populated areas, Democrat cities, I'm sure you know what I mean. Why they grow up to be so resentful of authority, why they grow up to be so combative, why they grow up to be so difficult to get along with. This is the example these parents are setting. This is a battle between two families at Chuck E. Cheese. One family trying to score a win over the other, and it just descends into chaos. And then the police have to turn up. You know those dreaded cops. Oh, the cops, they're out to hunt us all down. So let's get into this footage. Let's watch this clip. If you haven't yet, please like this video and subscribe to the channel on BitChute and YouTube. We're going out on both of those platforms if you haven't yet. Also, share this video around. That really helps this small YouTube channel grow in these trying times where people with even a slightly different opinion are ostracized from the public square, the debate arena completely. And that has happened to a lot of particularly conservative commentators. Okay, let's go. Okay, so it is time for the Battle of Chuck E. Cheese. This is one for the history books. The future historians are going to be writing about this battle, the battle tactics, who the generals were, and so on.
Mayfield Heights police are called to the Chuck E. Cheese in Golden Gate Plaza after a large fight breaks out.
Is it physical? Yes, they just flipped tables in my showroom. I need someone now.
And then another 911 caller reports that one of the nearly 20 people involved in the brawl pulled out a gun.
I cannot see who has the gun. I don't know who has the gun, but it's Surgeon here. Can you please hurry up?
When officers arrive at the restaurant, there is chaos. They encounter a woman who is threatening other customers and refuses to stop, ignoring repeated efforts by one of the officers to get her to calm down. They eventually get her to sit down, but it does not last.
It's okay.
The woman gets up and starts to run toward another customer, but police are eventually able to stop her. Witnesses say the large fight started after two small children got into an altercation, and their mothers confronted each other, and one of them spit in the other's face. And then it happened again right in front of the police.
We need more cars in here.
Every time police believe the situation is starting to calm down, angry words are exchanged, and the customers try to get at each other again, in full view of all of the children still in the restaurant. Officers from 4 surrounding communities are summoned to Chuck E. Cheese, and eventually order is restored.
Well, maybe you shouldn't start a fight in Chuck E.
I didn't start a fight. I paid $1,000 to be quiet and just not have a party. They came over here and started a fight because they said a kid hit another kid rather than being an adult about it and talking about it. She want to come over here and fight about it.
Investigators say one of the women had a gun in her purse. She did have a concealed carry permit, but it turns out Chuck E. Cheese does not allow guns inside the restaurant.
Is this your purse? Is this your gun? You pull it out at the table over there?
27-year-old Shakira Blair of Garfield Heights is charged with carrying a weapon into a prohibited place.
She'll just get a CCW charge.
4 other women are charged with disorderly conduct. Police say one of the women discharged pepper spray inside Chuck E. Cheese. A small child was hit by the blast and had to be treated by paramedics. Jack Shea, Fox 8 News in Mayfield Heights.
That is a full-on battle. Now let's go back because there's some, watch again as normal, because there's some points I would like to make in regards to this most historic battle of Chuck E. Cheese. So let's go back.
Mayfield Heights police are called to the Chuck E. Cheese in Golden Gate Plaza after a large fight breaks out.
Is it physical? Yes, they just flipped tables in my showroom. I need someone now.
And then another 911 caller reports that one of the nearly 20 people involved in the brawl pulled out a gun.
I cannot.
Now, of course, we find out later in the video that, in the clip, that she had a concealed weapon permit. Fine. Look, I'm from England. We don't have concealed weapon permits. But I agree with the United States having it. I mean, if I lived in the United States, and I would love to live in the United States, only with me being who I am and where I come from and my background, I can't just wander across the Rio Grande and be welcomed with everything. With me, it's different. I have to wait in line and so on and so on. And the queue's just never ending, so you just give up after a while. You just think, which is a shame because I have a lot to offer the United States. And I love the country. I'm not one of these people who come in the country but hate it and want to change it. I love the country and want to keep it what it was, the America we all knew and loved before the woke generation. That being said, concealed permit licenses, concealed weapon licenses, fine, right? But don't take a damn weapon, a firearm, into Chuck E. Cheese. It's a restaurant for children, for heaven's sakes. Like, look, we don't have Chuck E. Cheese here, but we have McDonald's and the sort. And I remember when I was a kid and I went to a Ronald McDonald party, like a birthday party. Imagine taking a handgun to a children's Ronald McDonald party. Why would you do something like that?
Not see who has the gun. I don't know who has the gun, but it's surgery here. Can you please hurry up?
When officers arrive at the restaurant, there is chaos. They encounter a woman who is threatening other customers and refuses to stop, ignoring repeated efforts by one of the officers to get her to calm down.
Where have we heard that line before? Now, of course, this didn't end in tragedy. This ended at like 99.9% of police interactions with POCs. It ended peacefully, right? But where have we heard that line? Where have we heard that line, right? And in that 0.01 instances where it ends, unfortunately, regardless of how long the criminal record of whichever individual it was, unfortunately, they lost their lives. In that 0.01 instance, how many times have they done that? Right, let's go back and listen again, right? Because you'll get an idea of why they end in tragedy in those very rare instances that they do.
They encounter a woman who is threatening other customers and refuses to stop, ignoring repeated efforts by one of the officers to get her to calm down.
They encountered a woman who was making threats and so on, and refused to stop and did not acknowledge repeated attempts to get her to calm down. Now imagine if she was a man, a big heavy-set man, and now imagine he's armed with a weapon, right? Now put yourself in the shoes of the officers when you have a moment to react. Not a woman in Chuck E. Cheese. Imagine a man in the middle of the night out on a country road somewhere, and you're the only officer within 10 miles. Put yourself in those shoes before you criticise the police. Now, I know I've criticised the police. Not American police, though. American police are uniquely in a bad spot. They're damned if they do, they're damned if they don't. In other countries, Western countries, Britain, Canada, Australia, and so on, the police are more benign, but the problem with our police is that they poke their damned nose into everything, right? Whereas serious crime gets out of hand and they don't seem to care about it. But they'll focus on your tweets and they'll come and arrest you for a tweet you made like 10 years ago.
They eventually get her to sit down, but it does not last.
It's okay.
The woman gets up and starts to run toward another customer, but police are eventually able to stop her. Witnesses say the large fight started after two small children got into an altercation, and their mothers confronted each other, and one of them spit in the other's face. And then
Spitting is such a horrible thing. It really is horrible. I hate spitting. It is the ultimate act of disrespect, and you have to be a certain type of person. I don't mean like saying if you've got phlegm and you have to spit on the ground. That's different. I'm talking about if you spit on another human being. It takes a certain type of low character to So I'm gonna do that ultimate act of disrespect in front of the kids as well. This is what I mean about the example that is getting set. And you know, these kids are going to grow up on a diet of this, and then when they get to their teenage years, it's going to be this plus gangster rap and all of that stuff. What chance do they have?
It happened again right in front of the police.
We need more cars in here.
Every time police believe the situation is starting to calm down, angry words are exchanged, and the customers try to get at each other again, in full view of all of the children still in the restaurant. Officers from 4 surrounding communities are summoned to Chuck E. Cheese, and eventually order is restored.
Well, maybe you shouldn't start a fight until you...
I didn't start a fight. I paid $1,000 to be quiet and just don't have a party. They came over here and started a fight because they said a kid hit another kid rather than being an adult about it and talking about it. They want to come over here and fight about it.
That's a perfectly fair point, perfectly legitimate point. The thing is, though, when you're with your kids, right, even if someone comes over and tries to attack you or whatever, your first point should be to protect the kids and to make them feel safe. And look, I had an alcoholic mother, and I can tell you, when I was a very young kid, when you are defenseless, and in those situations, you know you're defenseless. So long as your parents remain calm, trust me on this, the kids will remain calm. As soon as the parents start fighting and throwing around and shouting and screaming, take it from me, because I was that child once, the children will enter a world of fear that you as an adult, you can't comprehend. When my mum used to get drunk and have arguments and fights in the woman's refuge, when she split up with my dad, I used to hide. I was only about 7 years old. I used to hide in a cardboard box, and I'd put a blanket over the cardboard box, and that was my little space. And it was like a womb. And when I was in that cardboard box with the blanket over it, I felt safe because my mum wasn't keeping me safe. This is what I mean. Even if that other woman did come over and try to start something with you, instead of fighting her, try to simmer it down and stay calm. Not for you, for the kids.
Investigators say one of the women had a gun in her purse. She did have a concealed carry permit, but it turns out Chuck E. Cheese does not allow guns inside the restaurant.
Shock horror. And look, we already covered that, so I won't make my point again. I already made a point on that. But who would have thought it? A kid's restaurant does not let people come in with a firearm. Wow.
Is this your first? Is this your gun? Pull it out at the table over there?
27-year-old Shakira Blair of Garfield Heights is charged with carrying a weapon into a prohibited place.
So she's denying it, but the thing is, how would the other party know she had a weapon if it was concealed and she did not bring it out? Okay? They're not mind readers.
She'll just get a CCW charge.
4 other women are charged with disorderly conduct. Police say one of the women discharged pepper spray inside Chuck E. Cheese. A small child was hit by the blast and had to be treated by paramedics. Jack Shea, Fox 8 News in Mayfield Heights.
A child had to be treated by the paramedics for the effects of pepper spray. I mean, look, what about the other kids that were there and the other families? What about them? Yeah? This is like a clan battle. A battle between clans. But look, I think I've made my point clear on the battle of Chuck E. Cheese. I will be the official chronicler for this battle. I will write it all up and keep the future generations informed about the events around the battle of Chuck E. Cheese. Anyway, look, I hope you enjoyed this video. If you haven't yet, please like the video, subscribe to the channel and hit the notification bell if you're on YouTube. If you're on BitChute, subscribe. They don't have a notification bell, but subscribe there. Either way, share this around. Let's hopefully get this seen. We are, as Susan Wojcicki calls it, reduced. In other words, like all conservative content creators, we are shadow banned, essentially. So if we're going to get seen, that's down to you. And if you enjoy what you see, or if you are informed and get educated by what I produce, then if you could take a moment to share it around, and that's all of those things, that could really inspire me and help me to grow this small community that we have here together. Right, I'll see you in the next one. Goodbye.